The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for taking time out of the day to join us for this webinar with an API inspection expert. I'm Drew LaFleur. I'm the CEO of Technical Toolboxes, and I'm here just to kind of introduce the topic and then turn it over to our API inspector SME. Our goal today is to provide thought leadership and cultivate interest in the profession. We'll look at the issues facing above ground storage tanks and the inspectors and operators associated with them. Additionally, we're promoting our software and the technical training courses that we have for API inspectors and pipeline engineers. Can we go to the next slide? This webinar covers API 653 reporting and the Pipeline Hub integration. It's going to have a high-level view of the certification for steel above-ground tanks. And we're going to begin with a quick poll with 2 questions. Then we'll have Mr. Jeff Walling, our guest expert, give a talk. We'll wrap up with a rundown of the software that's related to the discussion, and we'll ask a couple more poll questions, and we'll have about 15 minutes for questions and answers at the end. So if you would launch the first poll, please. Or is that, sorry, we need to go to the next slide. So inspecting above ground storage tanks begins on site. All of the necessary data points have to be covered. If you miss anything, it means time and expense of additional visits to the tank farm and delays in delivering the final report. Once you're back at the office, inspectors spend many hours researching the code and engineering associated data. They'll save time if the data is close at hand, or if they create it, the input stays in the system to eliminate duplication of work. Inspectors and companies that provide inspection services need to be competitive to stay in business. And working efficiently means compiling accurate reports faster, delivering more reports in the same amount of time, and building customer loyalty. Finally, there are always internal and external audit pressures. Inspectors need a system that can provide OSHA and PSA audit records to prove competence and avoid fines. So now we'll take that quick poll, help us understand the audience a little bit more. If you would just take a second to answer these, we'll go through it pretty quick here. I think that's probably good. Can we move on to the next one? So it looks like we got a lot of API 653 people on, and that's good because that's what we're here to talk about today. So our speaker today is Jeff Walling. Mr. Walling has an engineering experience that spans more than years and covers the full spectrum of the industry. He's worked for industry as well as government agencies and the Department of Defense. He served as a project manager, integrity inspector, operator, and engineering consultant for refineries, chemical plants, pipelines, tank farms, and more. Mr. Walling holds a degree in mechanical engineering and API certifications in API 653, 510, 570, National Board, the Steel Tank Institute, PA, DEP, IF, AIM, and NDE Level 2. He's the founder of Eagle Inspection Services and the original creator of the API Inspectors Toolbox. Finally, he shares his knowledge as an instructor for API certification, MB, and API Inspectors Toolbox. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Walling.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope everybody's doing good today. All right, so I am the developer of the API Toolbox that's been out on the market since really I think 2002 or 3, somewhere in there. All right, so let's get on into this. Go ahead and advance this slide. All right, the API Inspectors Toolbox Enterprise modules. You have is actually a single source for inspection and technical information. We have several different sub modules, starting with design codes. You have file cabinets, engineering data, materials, your 570 piping, 510, pressure vessel modules, 653, and then an asset management database. So the design codes, that's really where you would have your PDF design codes. You would upload them into this module so that they're available to you at a click of a button. And it's subdivided into your ASME, your API, and all the other related codes. Then your next module you would have is a file cabinet. Most of us are that have been in this business a while have kind of amassed our own little portfolio that has all our different specs or different areas of interest that we have collected that we often refer to. That could be in any form as PDF, Excel, or Word. So we have this file cabinet. You can just upload those there, so they're always right there available. You don't have to go searching for them, trying to remember where you last put them, and they're available to your crew, to everybody else in your office there that may need them. The next module we have is engineering data for material specs, pipe specs, and calculations. So this is where this program really puts you out in front here, for saving time, for developing your reports. You have instant access to material specs, for instance. Alternatively, you would either have to go look these up in an electronic file or a hard copy library. If you use a hard copy library, just material specs alone could take you up to 20 minutes, 30 minutes to find those specs for just one report. Here, you have it instantly. You just click a button, there's a scroll down, and you find your material, and you have all the specifications for that material that quick. Pipe specs is another one that you look up a lot for, getting their schedules, their sizes, and all that. And especially for your nozzles and your class ratings, click of a button. And then last, in that module you have is calculation. So we have broken down in individual calcs for all of your other modules, your API 653, all the calculations that you would need for the API 653 evaluation, 510, 570. You can re-rate your vessels with all these calculations, but these are just independent calcs. Let's say you just wanted to know about a shell T-min. You can just go here. You don't have to input a whole lot of other data like you would the report. You could just go straight to the calc. And then, of course, the main modules, the API 570 piping module. I'll take a look at all these modules in a minute, how they're formatted. The API 510, 653, which covers both information and reporting and developing repair specs, doing hydros and all that. And you'll see that they are all kind of formatted the same. And last is the asset management database, kind of like your PCMS and AutoPipe. but it's not, you do not put in your UT data in this like you would those, but you can track your inspections. You can have a place to reside your data, your static data, a place to keep your reports, a place, it's just an asset management database, just like PCMS and all. And it's, it's very convenient to have that and be able to, like, say you go out and do a report on API 653, and then you finish the report and you want to add it to the database, click of a button, boom. It not only brings the report in there, it updates your static data and like your team ends for your shells and your fill height, your safe fill heights and all that. So it's pretty convenient. They work together and all. All right, can you advance to the next slide? Okay, the API Toolbox Advantage, okay? Access calcs and information instantly, okay? Without it, you're going to have to go, like I said before, to your hard copy library or your electronic library, but here you have it right at the touch of a button. Specs for commonly referenced standards at your fingertips. Saves time searching for commonly referenced data and calcs, okay? And you have an exhaustive selection of calculations for all of your modules for the ASTs, the pressure vessels, the piping, and of course they're up to date. And then you have your reporting conforms to standards that satisfy OSHA and PSM audits. Guarantee you, if you use these modules and you fill in all the requirements, because these reports include every element listed in the standards, and as long as you fill in and satisfy those requirements, these will pass a PSM audit, and I've had lots of feedback on that. And of course, you can develop new repair or modification specs too. Say on just specific one item issues. It probably would not satisfy the whole repertoire of what you would need on a turnaround. But if you do an inspection, you find a problem wrong with the nozzle and it needs to be replaced, and they say, hey, can you give me a repair spec for that? And you can say yes, and then it's laid out pretty nice. Just got to fill in data. All right, so the next slide. So here you have the API 653, and all this whole program now is being moved over from a single program on the cloud into this integrated hub platform. All right, and we're working to get all those in there and updated here. We got the 653 in there right now. It's looking good. You got your integrated data environment for API 653, your hierarchical navigation, drop-down menus, access and store inspection data and reference material. You can do your research code references and combine with other tools and workflows on one desktop canvas. So you can do a lot more in this environment than the single source environment, the single program environments. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to use an example here now, API 653 AST modules. And remember that all three of them have the same look, same format. Okay, so here you click, you want to go into the API 653 AST module. The first thing you see here is some tabulated windows. See the tabs, inspection intervals, API checklist, tank bottoms, shell courses, and so on. And then under that, you also have pages. Like here, if we clicked on the tank bottoms, the first thing that you see is design of tank bottoms. But there's a pull down there, then it will go to inspection of tank bottoms, then it'll go to repair of tank bottoms. So you have these other sub pages. And in these pages, you'll see they have code bytes. For instance, this one here it tells you what standard that we're going by. In this case, it's API Standard 650, 12th edition, March 2013. A real quick code byte here, for instance, minimum number 2B there says minimum projection outside the shell, which in our industry we call that the chime, is 2 inches, sketch and annual plates. And then it even gives you a paragraph in that code, in that API 650 code, paragraph 5.4.2 if you want to know anything more specific or want to know the specific language. Okay, so those are very handy for quick resolves. You got an issue, you want to know what the tolerances are, the parameters are. You can come in here, you can cascade to where you need to get to. Let's say it's a shell course issue, and you click on that tab, and then it takes you into this window, and then you do the pull down, go to the inspections or the repair, whichever it is that you think that you're interested in, and then you will 90% of the time find what you're looking for here without even going to the code. Boom, 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 you're there. Okay, so then if you look at the bottom, we have these other buttons here that you just click on these buttons at the bottom here for technical information and work pages such as repair specs, inspection forms, hydrostatic testing, report builder. And of course, our report builder is the jewel of this program. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so in this case, we're showing a sample example if you want to access your repair specs. This pop-up window comes up here, and then you have your choice of those of a specific type of repair or modification. So you have general, in case it's not listed here, nozzle installation, repad installation, nozzle remover, shell insert, lap patch, shell attachment, and so on. So let's go to the next slide, and it will show the nozzle. So we picked nozzle installation. This page comes in, and then of course you put in your static data, client information, location, equipment number, job number, that kind of thing. Then down here you see nozzle material spec, shell material spec, pad material spec. You have pull downs. So any of the materials that you need, you just select that from the pull down, and then put in all the other required data, such as your nozzle size, your L values, nozzle configurations, your pad ODs, your pad thicknesses, your shell thicknesses. So you just fill in all of the cells, required data. You have to your right there in the green material specs. These are pop-ups that if you need information, okay, for any of this data, we have it at a click of a button. Material specs come up, and you can see all the requirements and all the specs in regard to that. You have nozzle data. In case you want to, see what kind of schedules you have to choose from. You have table 3.3, table 3.10. You have your references to your weld types here. So then you have all the different types of welding that would be involved in a nozzle installation, and then you just fill in the weld data to give instructions to the mechanics there. So, all right, let's go to the next. All right, so the next button down below is your inspection forms, and this pop-up comes up, and you select. You can either select individually any of these forms, your checklists, these are filled forms, your AST component CMLs, your AST nozzle CMLs, all that. And if there's certain clients that you have that you know that you're going to have the same types of inspection forms, you can actually make a packet. So you just come here where you hit your plus, which a little icon there, which is where it starts a new file. And then you name it. In this case, we named it EIT. That's my company, Eagle Inspection Technologies. And then I click on which forms I know I will need to go to this client. So that way, when I have a job there, all I do is select in the pull down, select that client, hit print, and it will print out every single one of these forms. So you don't have to do them individually. It saves a bunch of time. All right, so let's go to the next slide. There we go. All right, here's the next button down below is your hydrostatic testing for ASTs. You could select a new or previous file to duplicate or start a record. You enter your tank data in the cells that are provided for you, your diameters, your joint efficiency, tank heights, and then you select variable definitions. When unsure of variable meanings, enter company name and logo there. You can put your logos up there. The yellow cells are for user-defined cells that can overwrite the default stress values in case you need to do that. And you have a choice of printing out your document in Word or PDF format. You see. Quick references down here to select from a table 4.2 pull down to see exactly what joint efficiency was applicable to this tank based on the year that it was built. You have a place to enter results or comments and all that. Okay, you can see other buttons there, your specific gravity. All right, so now let's go to the next slide. So now we're going to go to the talk about the report builder, which again is the jewel of this program here. So you would initially click on your API 650 module, and then you would go down and click on your report builder. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, and then you come in here to what we refer to as the base page. Everything starts here, and a lot of your data cascades forward from here. So you come in here, and most of this stuff is self-explanatory. We do have, as you can see, a lot of pull downs. If you're not sure what goes there, pull it down, and it gives you an idea, if not specifically, what you need to put there. Okay. Any of these little green buttons with the asterisks, that's where you could add information. So for instance, the inspector, if you got a new inspector, you need to add into this list. Click on your green button with asterisk next to the inspector cell, add him, and he's always going to be there on the pull down for every future reference, future needs. All right, so basically you would go across that first top horizontal there, filling in the type of report, whether it's in service or out of service, inspection date. When you get to age, previous inspection, that's asking for years, not a date, like 1929 or something, just how old this is, the age of it. In this case, it's 88 years old. Then you come down and you would fill in these columns here. A lot of this stuff that's grayed out, you would have to go to these upper green buttons where it says logo. Okay, you put that logo in there. It will be either your logo that you're doing as an inspection company or the logo of the company that you're doing the work for. Once you've put that in there, your employer, that's where your employer's name will come in. And then you have all your other static data. You got client, equipment ID, city, state, service, year built. Now, and that's just a year. You don't want to put in July 4th, 05 or whatever. You want to put just the date, the code that it was constructed to, if known, shell construction, foundation, roof type, so forth and so on, design temperatures, plate specs, diameters. So a lot of this information is going to cascade forward. You got your diameter, you got your height, your safe fill height, your joint efficiency, your specific gravity. All that information needs to be correct and inputted. Okay, on the base page, over to the left, lower left, you see where original plate thickness is. That's where you put your nominal thickness for each course. It comes in with a default cover text, and if you fill in all the upper cells and hit save, the first time you hit save, it will actually update that cover text, but only once, only the first time you click. You also have the option of deleting all that and putting your own cover text. Okay, so it's very user friendly. You can vary it quite a bit. So once you get all this information in here, then you go to your report appendix, and there's about eight report appendices there. The first one is where you would put your CMLs, okay, for your shell components, your roof components, your floor components, your nozzle components, okay. And then Appendix B, it comes in with a default amount, and I'm still referring to API 653 here. It comes in with a default calculations. There's about 5 of them: the shell remaining life, the roof remaining life, the floor MRT, nozzle remaining life, and shell settlement. Those are pretty typical of any internal and external. Well, the floor is not for external, but anyway, so that's those are pretty typically what you would have to do calculations for. Okay, but you could add as many calcs that are in that independent calc list, and there's a lot there that is relevant to your inspection. Okay, and then you have Appendix C. That's where you would put your drawings. You can normally those are done in AutoCAD, and then you print them to PDF and you upload them here. There is AutoCAD. There is a little button, a little icon that has AutoCAD drawings that are automatically opened with default inserts and stuff, so you can semi-automate doing these drawings in AutoCAD. And then you have the Appendix D for your checklist, and that again you can either upload your own or you can use the ones in the program, which are this for 653. Those are the API 653 C1 and C2 checklists. You have Appendix E where you upload your photo files. Appendix F where you can upload tank data like drawings or MSDSs. Then you have Appendix G for your NDE records, your UT Cal report, your MFE Cal report, your API Inspector or NDE tech certifications. And then you have your last Appendix H, which you can put anything you want in. Okay, that's if you have extra stuff that you want. Let's say a venting calc or something that you want to put in here. That's where you can put it. So, all right. So that's what your appendix would look like. And then you have your write-up, which is down there too, right next to the appendices. And you go in there, you'll see it's divided into two kind of columns. The left column is where you put your findings. The right column is where you put your recommendations. So it separates the two. Okay, so you don't have to read through all of the findings to figure out what you have to do to make repairs if required. They're so totally separated. They're like a punch list. We had a lot of comments back from OSHA audits that they like seeing that. It's something you can just hand to the maintenance folks, and so it's just like a punch list. You got to do this, this, and this. So, all right, and it also has a place for an executive summary. And of course, there's where you want to put your major findings or results from major NDE type inspections. Okay, and that's basically the module. Go ahead to the next slide. So then you got your reporting. So you could either issue this, issue it out as a Word file. You would have to ultimately put in a PDF file, but Word files are you can manipulate them a little better. But normally, I always just print everything out in PDF. Everything within that program prints out in order and very clean and very homogeneous. You have, again, your front page cover there. You have the option to put in a little image, as this one shows, a little tank there. And then you have your table of contents, your executive summary, your write-up, your recommendations, your calculations, your UT data, your calculations, and in the same order that we went through in the appendices. It's very nice, very clean. This has calculations in here that no other programs out there has. You see this one here for the settlement survey. The normal settlement is a cosine curve that tries to capture in a plane the tilt of the tank when it settles. All tanks, not all tanks, most tanks, especially big tanks, when they are filled for the first time for a hydro, will settle at a planar tilt, and that's what your cosine, your B2.2.2.4 evaluations for. But it has to meet a minimum 0.9 R square. Sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't, it's less than your 0.9, and then the code recommends you go to the next step, which is B.2.2.5. This is the only program out there I know of, from the last time I checked, that does that, okay? Most companies either ignore that and just go ahead and use the cosine curve, or they recommend, have it further evaluated by an engineer. Well, you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and further evaluate it in accordance with the code, and then it's either passes or it doesn't. But you have that nice and clean option to do that. Again, I don't know of any other program out there that does that. So I think that's about the end of this presentation on my part. I guess, Drew, I think you want to take it from here.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for that quick presentation. You know, looking at industry trends going forward, there's going to be increasing pressure or continued pressure to drive efficiencies into everything oil and gas related. And you touched briefly on a big challenge is time management or report building. Do you have an estimate of how much time this saves your company when doing an inspection versus before this was available? I think we have, you know, a few customers that have hinted that it was around, you know, 50–60% time savings for them. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, that was one of the biggest things that motivated me to do this, because I would be sitting there to do a report, and codes actually reference other codes that reference other codes. It's pretty typical to see an inspector there with 5 or 6 code books open up all around him. And what really motivated me was, you know, I talked earlier about your file cabinet, and everybody has their own little manual they put together for referencing commonly referenced material specs, pipe specs, all this stuff. Well, I had my book, and I had set it, I had no place else to put it because I had 5 other code books, and I put it on the trash can as it opened up, and it could sit there. Well, it come up missing, and I couldn't remember what I did with it. And then I finally remember that the guy came in to empty the trash, and I think he took my book, and he did. I had to go dumpster diving to get it, and right there I thought, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, having to access the same code books over and over and over, and having to open them up. So yeah, as far as time saving, I think most inspectors, I've seen them take anywhere from a day to a day and a half to 2 days to do one report. I usually get these done within, you know, well, definitely within a day, but depending, of course, on the size of the tank and what you've done. A lot of times I can get these done in 3 to 4 hours, get them turned out.
All right. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we'll have a few minutes here at the end for questions. If anybody has any, you can already send them in. Please feel free to send them in. If you would just touch briefly on, I think one of the pain points that we hear about is having the operator or the owner of the operator of the tank be able to see that progress is being made, or be able to collaborate with the inspector on the process. Could you talk about how much of a challenge that is in your opinion, and kind of what you do about it?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's always, you know, the administrator, let's say, doesn't always, you might have 5 or 6 guys under him. He trying to keep up where they are in the process, where the reports get out in time and all that. So the one advantage you have of this program is if you have the administrative rights, you can look in at any time to see where they're at on the report. And you can also have, let's say, an administrative body to review for clerical issues. You could have, you know, data, a person to input your CML data while somebody else's, your API inspector is doing the write-up. So all that combined together saves you time, and you can keep an eye as an administrator on where they are in the process. So instead of continuously bugging them, hey, where are we on that? Where are we? You can look yourself and say, hey, we're not where we should be on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so, you know, when you're essentially selling man hours, you want to get a good price for your time, and you want to churn out as many reports as you can, right? And as we're looking at here on the slide, with upcoming restrictions, potential restrictions, with coronavirus, with all the challenges that we face right now, really believe that software like what we're talking about here can make the difference between survival and not surviving the next few years. If you would go to the next slide. So as Jeff mentioned, the API Inspectors Toolbox has evolved and grown with the power of computation and data storage. And its innovation has reduced the cost of computation and given rise to new best-in-class solutions. Inspectors and inspection services that offer better data management and automation for unmatched productivity will have a leg up. Calculations that were once tied to spreadsheets can be stored in unified databases, and software from Technical Toolboxes gives you the expanded data integration and efficiency initiatives to stay ahead of the pack. If you would go to the next slide. So there's a lot in the hub. If you're an API inspector, you may be interested in only one or two boxes here, but if you've got other divisions, other people on the team, there's a lot available for engineers midstream and downstream. So with our products and services, of course, we have the software we've been talking about, but we also offer technical training and PDHs, certifications, etc. And some of those courses include API inspection certifications. And Jeff Walling is one of the instructors that we have that teaches these courses. Typically, they're done as destination courses where maybe we go to Chicago or Midland or different places. But right now, of course, because of coronavirus, they're all via webinar. So feel free to check that out if you have any interest in that. And we'll take a quick poll here, and then we'll get on to the Q&A from the audience. I think that's probably enough time. Move on to the next. Just like most people use spreadsheets, and the remainder largely use custom-built software by their company. A few API Toolbox users on the line. That's good to see. So I'm going to turn it over to Joseph, and he'll close with this this follow-up slide. But we want to get to some of the questions that have come in, and so I'll turn it over to Joseph. He's an engineering performance advisor, and he'll take us through the Q&A portion.
Yeah, thank you, Drew, and thank you, Jeff. Really do appreciate that. What I'm going to do next for everyone that's kind of on the call, ladies and gentlemen, is I want to try to get to everyone's questions. I do see some kind of filtering through on our end. We will definitely try our best to answer and address all questions. If there's some that we're not able to get to, if you've attended any of our other webinars, we will do everything we can, and we will eventually get back with you if we don't have time to get with your questions today. Again, I do see some questions kind of filtering through. Please feel free to use the questions or chat icon to submit your questions through, and I will get to them accordingly. And if I can't answer them, I will direct them to our subject matter expert, Mr. Jeff Walling, which more than likely will be what we will do depending on the question. So kind of finishing out with this slide before we get to the actual questions, and actually I do see a question or two pertaining to this is, you know, what next? What can I do next after this webinar to either obtain more information on the API Inspectors Toolbox or see more? Well, we have a wealth of information for you if you're interested in receiving that information. You know, we have ebooks. We can let you trial the software for a short period of time. We can set up a demonstration for you of the actual software. We have success stories, ladies and gentlemen, of the software itself, from users throughout the world, essentially, So you just let us know. All you have to do is through the question icon is just simply put interested. Again, just put the word interested, and we'll make sure we follow up with you and address your question or see what more information you would want to receive. Again, through the question bar, just put interested, and we'd be more than happy to follow up with you and just see what else you would like to obtain as far as information, demonstration, trial of the software, whatever it may be. We'd be happy to do that for you. I see a couple questions kind of as well pertaining to the API Toolbox itself. It seems like, we spent a lot of time on above ground tank storage, API 653. The questions kind of pertain to, just for clarification's sake, this was the question, what other API inspections does it cover? And just so everyone's aware, again, it covers API 653, above ground tank storage, API 570, of course, which is pipe inspection, then API 510, which is pressure vessel inspection. So again, API 653, 570, and 510 is what the actual API Inspectors Toolbox covers. And again, just to re-clarify with everyone, right now, all three platforms are available via a cloud process Skybox platform. I do see a question to kind of piggyback off of this is, will it ever be able to use offline? That is actually a phenomenal question. The answer to that in short is yes. Yes, it will be. Right now, the capability is there only for API 653, which is on our hub integrated data environment. Drew and Jeff covered that during the presentation. So what we're eventually going to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, is getting API 653, 510, and 570 on our hub platform. The hub has been out for quite some time. API Inspectors Toolbox has been out for quite some time. But what we're doing is slowly navigating that onto our platform. And no worries at all. We have a couple questions on that. It's a phenomenal question. And it wasn't covered in as detailed as needed, but the offline use will be there, but then also the standard use case of the cloud capability and having an internet connection will need to be there as well. So we'll kind of get with you all on that. Again, the hub platform will allow for offline use, but that is only for 653 right now. But the cloud version has the access for 653, 570, and 510. Just for clarification purposes. And we'll make sure to follow up with you all on that. Mr. Jeff Walling, I have a question that you might be able to answer pretty well. Does the API Inspectors Toolbox data log transfers from, say, a DL38 UT meter? Again, does the API Toolbox do a data log transfer from, an example, a DL38 UT meter? Would you be able to provide a little more clarification of that, Jeff?
Yeah, yes, it does via a Excel spreadsheet transfer medium. Basically, you would go out in the field, of course, take your data logger, get all your UT readings. It's best to understand how to set up your boilerplate based on the template that we have for the program. So you will have your X and your Y data spreads. You need to see what they are in for the template, set up your boilerplate exactly like that, and it's just a matter of, once you come in from the field, download to Excel, copy and paste the data, just the data, from the data logs Excel spreadsheet to the program template, and in the click of a button, boom, it's in the program.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate the answer to that. I got another question for you, Jeff. I think as an end user of this quite frequently, you would be able to probably address this one even better than myself. But can the API Inspectors Toolbox be used on an electronic notepad or iPad for direct data input into the program? Again, be able to use on an iPad or notebook for direct data input into the program.
Okay, it's the same thing. Basically, we have a template that you would download onto your iPad, an Excel template. It has all your fields and your files for your basic data input, your static data, and you can put directly in your UT data when you're out there in the field and going around taking UTs. You know, one guy is operating the UT meter, the other guy has the iPad. Boom, boom, boom. It also has the checklist in it. So yes, you can do that via, again, your Excel medium with a template that's integrated with the program. So yeah, I mean, once you get it filled out, you know, you get into your hotel room or back to the office, you just upload it into the program. 90% of the report's done. There is some other things you have to do, some selection things you have to do, but 90% of the information will be in the program.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate that, Jeff. Have kind of another, I guess the question kind of pertains to getting your expertise and professional opinion on this. Seems there was some interest in the reporting feature that you provided. So the question is, Jeff, in your opinion, and this is kind of, I guess, strictly we're wanting your opinion, but does the API Inspectors Toolbox, it seems like they asked that they have consistent problems in having kickbacks on the reports, or I guess the regulators, auditors, or just internal processes, and they have regular kickbacks of reports. What have you seen on an estimated percentage basis that the API Inspectors Toolbox can do on fixing kickbacks based on the reporting capability? Does it, in your opinion, does it help with that?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started out in this business, one company I worked for, almost every client kicked it back. And it's basically because there was no set format. There was no, there are certain elements given into the API codes that they say should be part of the report. And if you leave any of those out, if you don't address any of those, even if it's not applicable, a lot of times the client who is maybe a little more savvy about what's in the API codes or just some area of interest he has will kick it back. So I would say, I have my own company. I would say I've reduced kickbacks by 90%. There are some clients that no matter what, they have their own ideals about things, and you're going to get kickbacks from them. But everybody else, as long as they see they have the elements in there, which is what this was designed for, to make sure those bases are covered, and as long as the user satisfies those areas of interest that are in the program, he should reduce his kickbacks quite a bit, especially stuff like, for instance, a lot of folks are using spreadsheets. A lot of times they don't, there's a change in stress values between the first, second course and the rest of the courses. A lot of times they miss that, but the same stress value, and their calcs are a little off, and the client might catch that. So so yes, it reduces kickbacks quite a bit.
Okay, perfect. I have another question that pertains specifically to the platform, Jeff. So what they're asking is, does the program flag incorrect input data if there is input data, within the program that is just known to be incorrect? So the example given is they noticed that a tank was built, I guess, in a report in 1929. It was API 12C tank built in 1929. But it looks like they noted that that tank was not published until 1936. So essentially, they were wondering, will the program notate that, oh, hey, API 12C tanks weren't actually published until 1936, but you put 1929, you might need to fix that. Or maybe that might be, a pretty minute detail it wouldn't be able to catch. So at the end of the day, does the program catch or flag incorrect input data, or does it just depend on where it falls?
Yeah, for the most part, that stuff, it's that's up to the inspector to have that kind of knowledge. No, the program wouldn't flag it, wouldn't flag that.
Yeah. Okay, so something as that detailed, it sounds like it won't. But if it's calculation inputs or stuff like that, it might flag it as being out of range.
Well, I mean, some things it's going to flag. Yeah, anything that fails.
Yeah.
Going to flag it. It's going to show up as red or orange, depending on if it's 10 years out, 1 year out.
Yeah.
Some of it is automated. For instance, in the pressure vessels, there was a change in '98 from a 4-times safety factor to a 3.5 times safety factor. Well, the program will automatically choose the correct stress value for the original year it was built. Okay, you can overwrite that in a way, but for the most part, if it was built before 98, and actually 99 is the cutoff, it will use the 4-times safety factor. If it was built after that, it will automatically use the 3.5 times safety factor, and of course, all of that is relevant to the temperature that it sees as well. So yeah, it sees all that, and it'll make the correct choice between the pre-99 and post-99, and at the temperature in pressure vessels. That makes a pretty big difference, especially for stainless steel. Okay,
gotcha. Another question I see, and this kind of goes back, Jeff, to between 653, 570, and 510. See the couple of questions on this, and I'll kind of just try to lump it all into one for you, Jeff. They understood that a lot of this presentation was kind of for above ground tank storage, 653, but they were wondering if kind of the workflows, the reporting features, the code bytes, and all that is kind of the same process for 570 and 510 when you're actually in the program, or is it kind of intuitively different?
Oh no, it's almost identical. Yes, all the code bytes, all the tabulated windows, the presentations, the format, identical. So once you get used to one, the other ones are pretty easy to get through. Gotcha.
Are there any features in the program that allow, let's say it's a group of inspectors. The question pertains to, Jeff, if my manager needs to see my report, or if a colleague needs a reference report, can we share that information through the platform pretty easily?
Yeah, so if you're an inspector, you're only going to see reports that you're the author of, okay? However, you can share that report with any of your other inspectors that are listed in your group. So there's that function. Say, okay, let's say somebody wants to see it, wants to review it. You can share that. They will be able to do some data entry into the appendices, but would not be able to change anything on the base page or the write-up. Okay, so let's say you're the inspector, API inspector, you're doing the write-up, but you want one of your NDE guys to do data entry. So they could do that at the same time you're doing that, at the same time, gets the report turned over quicker. And then they have another feature that can make you the owner. So let's say I started the report, but I need somebody else. There was a second inspector that can add to that, or an administrator that wants to edit it for administrative technical stuff. So you can make them the owner. All right. You'll still be able to see it, but you will not have the ability to as the inspector, you will not. But you can if you make yourself as the share with it. But once you switch it off, the other person is now the author of it, will the only one be able to edit it. But you'll still be able to see it, still have that function. And of course, the administrator, he'll be able to see it and edit it any time.
Okay, perfect. Another kind of couple questions I'm going to consolidate into one for you, Jeff. It's pretty short and sweet, but we have users outside of the United States, and they're wanting to know if the program will perform calculations in imperial or metric. Is the capability there?
I never really got into that, but yes, the program has a little field set, a unit set up in the top right-hand corner, and you just select it. Let's see, the options you have is, the default, which is American units or English units, however you want to call it, and then the metric set. So you can either use the English units or the metric set.
Okay, perfect. Another question: does the program assess the next inspection date after an out-of-service inspection based upon API 580?
580. You talking about a risk-based inspection?
Yes,
that is
I believe so.
That's something. If you're a user, if you're a user of the asset management program, you can set that up in the program. Yes, but it has to be via the asset manager.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured, and that's what I wanted you to kind of, I guess, go over there was the asset manager. I believe is where the question's coming from. Is that? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it has a default to the the span of inspections that are default in the program in the codes, but you can overwrite those in the report if you're doing things based on a RBI inspection intervals.
Okay, gotcha. All righty. Well, Jeff, we have 5 minutes left. There might be some other questions, but I'll make sure we can follow with them after the discussion today individually. But I guess to wrap it up, Jeff, this is just what I like to tell end users of the platform, or what I get a lot when we do demonstrations and whatnot. If you could wrap it up in 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and you're a longtime user of this, you helped develop this, Jeff, over 20 years ago, or almost 20 years. What's the greatest thing about this platform?
Well, it's the user friendliness of it. It's all one program. You don't have to bring together PDFs and Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. It has every reference that you're going to need just about in the click of a button. Again, that's time saving. That's gold to be able to have this. And there's no other program out there, like I say, that has the quantity of data available to you. Just in the modules, the tabulated windows, all that is just having that available to you for such a quick reference. It's just it's unmatched by any other program. And the reports are very comprehensive. They're all together. I've heard feedbacks from users that say they're spoiled. They can't even use any other program.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Jeff. I really do. Again, there might be some outstanding questions out there, and I apologize. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is format those. I'll make sure I get Mr. Jeff Walling's best professional opinion, and we'll follow back up with you. And heck, we'll loop him in if need be. We want to make sure all of your questions outstanding are addressed, and we do this each and every webinar. Rest assured. So with only 2 minutes left here, I do want to make sure we wrap everything up. Very, very much appreciate all of you joining the discussion and the webinar today. What we're going to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to be formatting this video and webinar and having it available for you all. We're going to put it on our YouTube page, and if you are interested in that, just please let us know. Put the interested within the questions icon, and we'll make sure we get that out to you. We have an ebook as well that Mr. Walling helped put together with goes a little bit more in depth to the technical information and capabilities of the platform. So we'll be working on that and have that done within the next few days. And again, a formatted recording of this webinar as well. But without further ado, closing out here, very much appreciate all of you joining. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we look forward to talking with you all closer. Appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll be in contact with you all here soon, especially for the outstanding questions. Thank you all.
Thank you. Stay safe out there.